We'd like to welcome you all back to another RORE podcast. Greg Angelo with you with Brock Zivan. We are here on the pretty much the middle of March. We just had a time change, and so we have absolutely no clue what time it is, and we could be an hour back, we could be an hour ahead. We really don't know. We're going to have to figure it out. We really appreciate you all being here on Raised on Real Estate. We've got a great podcast coming up. We have a special guest all the way down in Florida. So we're going to be bringing in Michael Burke. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about the luxury home market, which is a great space. He's down in Florida. I'd say South Fort Myers, Marco Island, and Naples, all of that, Bonita Springs. So that's really cool. Stay with us here, and we're going to bring our guest in, and Brock will be with us, and we're going to have a great time. Thanks so much for being part of our podcast. And so here we are on a gorgeous sunny Monday, March 14th. Brock Zivan is back with us again, and we got a special guest all the way down the Bonita Springs area. We've got Michael Burke with us, and we're going to bring him in just a little bit. But what's going on, Brock? What's going on in your neck of the woods, brother?
Not much, man. Welcome. Happy Monday to you. Happy spring forward. Let me tell you, it was pretty entertaining. My two kids getting them out of bed this morning. They were not very happy at all, but we are here, and I'm excited to have Michael Burke here. Him and I have known each other for quite some time, so I'm excited to have him as one of our guests and to hear a little bit about what he's got going on down in Florida. I know they've been, weather-wise, it's been a little chilly down there for them too, I know. So looking forward to hearing the weather report. It's always one of the big topics down there of what they got going on. He has no problem with letting me know how sunny and warm it is out.
So, Michael, we got you on live. So welcome to Raised on Real Estate from here in North Carolina. Good to have you with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And it's always a pleasure to spend some time with Brock.
It's always a pleasure to spend some time with him, I bet. So how we're going to craft this a little bit, because we've got people listening to us on RORE, the platform, from not just, down in the South or in Charlotte regions, but also, we've got them up north and different places around the country and outside the U.S. So we'd like to introduce you just a little bit to everyone that's listening, and we're going to talk about why we brought you in today. And we appreciate you taking time of your schedule. You got a lot going on down there. But Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what brought you down to Florida and how you got into real estate?
That's a unique story. Well, I was living in Cleveland, Ohio at the time, and I took a trip down to Naples to visit a buddy. And at that time, I had a computer company up north where we brokered mainframe computer hardware, and we maintained those platforms. But we were, it was a 2004, and after September 11th, all the rules changed. So, to be honest with you, I didn't like my business. It was beating me up and just had a negative impact. So I came down to Florida on a whim, and I fell in love with Naples. And I actually went home and I says, "Hey, guess what, Shelly?" She says, "What?" I go, "We're moving." And that's exactly how I handle it. I put the house on the market. I consolidated the business trying to run it out of Florida, but that didn't work. And I just sold the assets and got my real estate license because I thought it was easy. Yeah, and it wasn't. It is an easy business if you do things right, but there's a lot of people who get their license and just become realtors. But having a business mindset and having a couple successful businesses before then, it just it worked for us.
Awesome. And how long have you been down to Florida now?
We actually moved down here full time in 2006, and just never really looked back.
Wow, you've been down there for a while. I didn't realize you were down there that long.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, because I met you in Charlotte here, I don't even know how many years ago now, maybe five, no, it had to be
5
more
or
than
6.
5. Yeah, 5 or 6 years.
That was Bobby and Janet's capper party, if I remember right.
Yep. The Keller Williams days, we had our capper party, and I remember hearing your story, and it resonated with me. I was starting my journey in some of the challenges that I had, and I remember talking to you, so it was pretty cool to have that engagement, and we've stayed touch based and stayed connected throughout the time.
Well, to just put it out there for the people that don't know, is basically November 29th, 2003 was my sobriety date. And when I was speaking in the Carolinas, it comes up when I speak,
Yeah.
and usually it's for one or two people in the audience. And Brock approached me after I spoke, and we just hit it off with a lot of commonalities and just walks of life per se. And we're very proud of his journey and what he's accomplished in the last 5 or 6 years with his sobriety. So it just sometimes we like to stick together because
Hmm.
we know that some of the pains that we have to go through, personally and professionally.
It's crazy you said that because I remember it to a T. I was white knuckling it at the time because I just stopped or like was trying to figure out my life. And when you said, it reaches out to one or two people, I was like, oh my gosh, he's talking to me right now because I am that one person. And I remember coming up to you at the pool and just having that conversation. It was my first event of not drinking, and it was. It's funny just looking back at it right now. It's pretty cool just fast forwarding and seeing where we've come.
Yeah, it's so true. It's a great journey, though.
Absolutely.
So the
Yeah,
person you identified, did you say was Shelley? Was that her name?
that's my wife.
Yeah. Okay. And did you have a family down there with you?
Yeah, it's kind of ironic though. Shelly and I moved down here, and then her parents moved down here full time. They live very close to us, and then my dad had bought a seasonal place, which he's down here also seasonally. Our season usually is, Christmas through Easter. My brother lives down here full time, my youngest brother. So we did have family that followed us.
I just made a note down of your season because I was like, I don't even know when their season is down there of what they got with business. So it is very unique of learning that because of the weather.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's amazing though too. You could see the traffic, and it's very frustrating sometimes not having to deal with traffic during the summer months. And now that the suburbs are here, and after COVID, we're seeing more and more vacationers coming. It's pretty crazy at times. And we're not used to it.
Hmm.
So even though that our business is great during snowbird season, we're looking forward to sometimes when they go back.
Right.
In a good way, in a good way.
Yeah, I hear that. And when I sent you that message, because as I said, like I was down there, I was in South Fort Myers in the early '80s, and it seemed like though usually like around October, mid-October, you start seeing the license plates flip. Right? You'd be at
The,
I'd be at a
the license
light.
plates and the car carriers.
All right, and being from Michigan, it was interesting because I was at the light. I think I was somewhere like around like Bonita Boulevard or McGregor Boulevard, getting towards the beach area, and every car that was in, there must have been about 9 cars. Every single one had a Michigan plate, and I'm like, man, I'm
Yeah.
like, where am I? So, but that's how it is, and it gets, like you said, it gets very crazy. Floridians who live there, they got to deal with. They've been dealing with the snowbirds and all that for years. So, but that's all cool.
We'll talk about it a little bit though too, but I think that they say that Florida's grown 1,000 people per day. Not my county or city, but all of Florida, because
Wow.
the snowbirds in the retirement community is still coming down here at a very high
Hmm.
level for one reason or another.
You brought up something on. I want to ask you. You mentioned COVID. How was COVID down there in Florida for you guys? Because I know I was actually down there in Key West, and it was like it was still kind of open compared to different parts of the country. But how was COVID for you guys during the heat of it?
Well, I mean, you're talking business wise?
Yeah, business and just
Yeah.
personal.
Oh, I mean, personally, I had COVID back, I think it was a year ago, December, but to me, it was just a really bad flu, and I was okay with it.
Hmm.
But during that time, when we announced that we were closing the office, I think it was in March of was it 2 years ago? It really got quiet. And be honest with you, it's like, okay, what now?
Hmm.
And I don't know what happened, but it's all of a sudden that I think that people up north and also California, it seems like New York and New Jersey, a lot of these people say, I'm not spending the winter up here. I'm going to Florida. So
Right.
we had, like a lot of people, we had a banner record year last year. It was our best year ever. Um, and I still believe it has a lot to do with politics and the baby boomers still coming. So it would. I do believe that there's many facets where it's hard to put our finger on one specific reason, but I do believe that the secret out got out about Southwest Florida because do believe our prices were underpriced for coastal
Hmm.
communities compared to like Miami or California and parts of Texas.
I like to a deep dive on that just to let people know the type of platform and your success with your business. So the average agent typically maybe does about $2 million in sales, maybe flirts with three. Quality teams will do, I don't know, 15 maybe, get them to 20. Michael, how about your team? Talk yourself up a little bit here because I know you guys had a lot of success. What are you guys doing?
Oh, Hunter Habib, my operations manager, coined the phrase a family-sized business. We have a total of there's about four agents on our team, and Hunter and Shelley on the administrative side. The average agent down here does about 3 or 4 units a year. Now we have about 15,000 agents from Marco to Fort Myers.
Mm-hmm.
So with our family-sized team, we do about 100 units a year over year. And this year, with that number, though, was we were a little bit less. I think about 92. I think, was it 92 or 87, Hunter? I'm sorry, he corrected 83, and we did 50 million.
Awesome. That's
So our price point is pretty high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yes.
you gotta check. You gotta check with the main man to get those numbers.
Yeah, Hunter's the detailed guy.
So what I wanted to do, I wanted to just go back real quickly because when you got down there in 2006 and you got licensed, so what was like your main focus? Like, what were you looking at? Like, what did you want to accomplish when you got right out of the gate?
That's a great question, Greg. I just wanted to, when I sold the assets to my company, and I started this business when the bubble bursted. Oh crap! I got to go back to work. And that's true. I thought this real estate game was easy, but what I did something very unique. I come from a technical background. Now, keep in mind, my background was more hardware than software. So what I did is I went to a homeowners association meeting for my community, and they're about to turn over to the homeowners from the developer. So they asked for, they needed attorneys, they needed accountants, they needed marketing and websites and all that jazz. When they spoke about a website, I said, yeah, I raised my hand. I said, I can help there, but I had no clue. So I just ran home and I Googled homeowners association websites. And so I reached out to this couple companies, and one I decided on, they had a website up and going for the whole community within 2 weeks. And I had it branded when I took it back to the meeting and said, here you go. What do you think? Oh, this is great. This is great. But we have other realtors that live here. You got to take your brand down. Well, so okay. So I had ulterior motives at that time. Was like, I just wanted to collect emails and phone numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, I took my brand down, and within 30 days, there's 800 email addresses uploaded to the for the community alone. And I developed what I call the monthly market report just for that one community. And so I would send out what was listed, just sold, and other information. Now, keep in mind, it was that's when the bubble burst, and there was all that predatory lending going on. And there was a lot of inventory. In my community alone, there was 974 doors, and I think it was like 120 some listings at that time, and I captured 40 some listings just in that one community.
Wow!
Just in 8 months. In 8 months.
And then you didn't have you didn't have a sphere of influence. You weren't really known.
No. And that's what I did is that, so once I figured out, the people up north wanted to hear about what was going on down here. When I got a listing in another community, the script I used, say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I believe that your homeowner, your next buyer is a friend of someone in the community. And I want to make sure that I have all their information hit all the current homeowners. Can I get a copy of your homeowners directory? And most of the time I got it.
Guys, let's hear that again, because that's a very, very good line. Because we talked about it this morning on our coaching call. So say that script again.
So Brock, thank you for the listing. I appreciate it. We're going to get a good job done for you. I do believe that your next buyer is a friend of someone in the neighborhood, or family member of someone in the neighborhood. I want to make sure that we reach all these people, and hopefully before it hits the market. Can I get a copy of your homeowners directory?
God, that's awesome. That's a great line right there.
And throughout the years, I think I've been turned down 2 or 3 times. So, and just through our prowess, Hunter and I have been able to collect about 93 or 94 homeowners directories. And we talked about that this morning on our call, that Hunter pushes out 100,000 emails to these target areas, which is it's a unique monthly market report for each community. It's not a big generic one.
And do you get like updated subdivisions as they grow, or you just get it one time, or how you earning that, and how you doing that now?
What, the subdivisions are basically?
Yeah, like how do you update? Like if the one that you got like 10 years ago, is it that same one?
Oh, yeah. Well, we use the same script.
Right. So you go into the same subdivision and you say that script again.
Correct. Or sometimes, we're just able to obtain a hard copy, and we scan it and just update it. We just use whatever means we can, but we also, we try not to spam the people. It goes out once a month. Hunter and I try to use, just listed, just sold, and we started getting a lot of unsubscribes. So we're very, very guarded how we what we push out. And even for just because the market's changed, we try to do something in the middle of the month, some other softer piece to these people, but we weren't getting any traction on it. So we just pulled back, and people like seeing the value of the market report, just what's sold, what's listed. It's all relative to their backyard. And I believe what's the click ratio? About 35%, Hunter?
Yeah, about 35 to 40%.
35 to 40% click ratio.
Wow, that is good.
Yeah, yeah.
And do you break it down every single subdivision?
Yes and no, Brock. So yes, we have like the communities that I live in. There's like 10 sub neighborhoods. So we've broken it down for some of the sub neighborhoods, but to do it for all 100 per se that we have, it's an extensive project.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, so we just do right now the ones that we are very, very versed at, and have like Mish lives in a neighborhood, Hunter lives in a neighborhood, Erica lives in a neighborhood. So everybody has their neighborhood that they farm and pay high attention to.
Wow. You caught my attention this morning as well when you were talking about it, and I remember you sharing that with me. But 100,000. And I think you were saying this morning you have a 75 to 100 clicks per month that people reach out to you and ask for their price of their home value.
Well, get this though, we're sitting on a million email addresses. We're trying to figure out how to seize them and push out information. I mean, if we pushed out a million email addresses overnight, I mean, just can you imagine our IP address would be marked for spam, would be in deep trouble.
Right. Wow.
And the next question I want to ask you is, I think it was in 2008, and I could be wrong, but didn't this Hurricane Charlie come in? Was that 2008?
Yeah, that was 2008, and then Wilma came in right behind Charlie. And the reason I remember Wilma so much is because after Wilma came through, it turned everything off. That's when I really noticed the stop in the market, the bubble bursting.
Okay. Because I think at one time, like even during when the market, busted, and even I think at one time there was a statistic nationally that said that Fort Myers area, maybe it was even Lee County, had the most, I guess, short sales or foreclosures in the entire country.
Oh my gosh!
It was crazy. It was like the average price point was like $45,000.
Well, there was so much speculation going on down here, and zero doc notes that were going out that people were just buying things left and right without any financial stability. I was fortunate to flip one or two properties early on, but there's a lot of people that got caught with their pants down.
I want to go back to the subdivision or the email campaign, because there's a lot of listeners right now that are probably like, wow, that seems like a really great idea. Like, and not to share your secrets, but at the same token, like per month, like, so you have the same data, that's not same data, but you're just telling them like, hey, this is what's going on in the market, and this is what your home value is, and so it's like a repetitive. You're not having to come up with a new material each month, right?
Well, to be honest with you, so what we do what is it? Market report sign up page. Marketreportsignup.com. You could go to that.
We should just bring
domain.
Hunter on here. Be like, Hunter, get on here.
I keep telling you that. I'll send him the phone number right now. But marketreportsignup.com, it'll show you a sample of it and also the communities that we target and farm. But so every month, when we send it out, we have a writer that helps us do an intro.
Mm.
And so the intro is unique to something that we want to talk about. The links are static, going back to the community of what's active, what's sold of that nature, and also some of our products and services. We do feature some articles that we grab from the local news or local newspaper for the people up north that are not in tune at a high level what's going on. But we give them the proper credit.
So when you say up north, that's just because you know that majority of your owners don't live here in Florida. They're all over the country because this is their second home, right?
Correct.
So you have to be able to, share what they got going on at home or in their second home because they're only here. So, and what parts of the year are they here? I guess the winter time because they don't want to deal with the winter up north, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, our market's changed somewhat because this is an older, and I got Hunter jumping on here in a minute, but this is an older retirement community area. And so people come down here to retire. People come down here to relax and spend the winter months where it's not so cold up north, in the Michigans and Ohio's, parts of New York. So when they come down here, of course, they still have family back home. Now, keep in mind, though, this is really important to note. Our buyers, most of our buyers, do not have to buy. They buy because they can or because they want to or they feel value.
So how do you get motivation out of them then?
Well, have you spending winters in Cleveland? Or Michigan? So the motivation is to get out, just to it's just amazing the lifestyles of people. And as Greg been down here back in the 70s, it's definitely changed a lot. However, what I will say is we're not selling homes, Brock. We're selling a lifestyle. So we're selling, when we're dealing with a golfer, we got to find them a golf community, whether it be bundle golf, find somebody that wants pickleball, tennis, close to the beaches. There is some of our communities, though, we say it in jest, but there's some truth to it. It's God's waiting room.
Yeah.
Again, every community stands on its own for their lifestyle. Now, there's 55 and older communities, and there's golf communities, as I mentioned. And once we match up the buyer's lifestyle, the couple or whatever they are, then we can find a property. Finding a property is easy. Matching up the lifestyle is hard sometimes.
Is that just because of change? When you say messing up their lifestyle, is it because they're just in a routine, can't teach an old dog new tricks? Like, what is, like, how do you get inside their head? Like, not to say you're trying to, but like, to me, like, it was a challenge when I dealt with the 55 and older community because the way my body is, like, I'm going 100 miles an hour and I had to really slow it down. I had to speak a little bit. Like, you wanted coffee, and the first thing I do is I look at my watch and be like, I don't even know if I have time for this right now.
Well, so I mean, let's role play. You be the buyer, Brock, and I'll just try to go through a quasi qualification script that we use with our potential buyers, and this could be over the phone if they're still up north,
right,
looking to come down. So hey, Brock, so I understand you probably want to come down to the Naples or Southwest Florida area. Is that correct?
Yeah, this snow up here has really got us that we've been starting to explore a little bit more down south now.
Okay. Well, I mean, Southwest Florida is a great area, and it's we're below the frost line here, so very rarely do we get freezing temperatures. But what we really like to concentrate on, what do you and your wife like to do? What do you like to do for recreation?
We're very big golfers.
Okay. Now, do you want to commute with one golf course, a couple golf courses, or bundle golf? Is that important to you?
So we are on a league, so we rotate around like 3 or 4 different courses, and then we travel a lot. With just golfing, it's our time period that we get to spend time together, and so yeah, I mean, a bundle would be great if that's able.
Okay. All right, so we have several bundle golf communities to suggest to you. When you're not golfing, what do you like to do?
I mean, we walk, and we do a lot of crossword puzzles. We do a lot of things to stimulate our brain. We're in a bunch of different church events that we do to volunteer.
Okay.
we're just tired of trapping inside our home during the winter months up here, and so we're just trying to
Okay.
figure out what we need to do. And we're just kicking the can. We're really not we're not in any hurry. We just want to start taking a look.
Well, and I appreciate that. So you're saying a possible bundle golf community. When you say you walk, there's some of the communities I could recommend that have walking trails. And you mentioned something about crossword puzzles and hobbies enthusiasts where there's communities that will they have a sewing room, an arts and craft room, billiards room, a couple restaurants. Some communities where you don't have to leave the grounds except to go to the grocery store.
Hmm.
So, when you're telling me these little things, though, it gives me enough to start sending you some neighborhood and properties to take a look at. But of course, at the end of the day, Brock, I mean, what's the budget that you're looking at when you're purchasing down here?
Um, I don't even know. I know the home prices are much higher down there than they are here in New York. But we like to stay like right around 2 million is what we're looking at.
2 million.
And
That's an easy budget to work with. And I do believe that, on the surface right now, your budget is on the higher side. I think we can do, I mean, trust me, I'd like to spend your 2 million, but if I don't have to, I'm not going to.
okay,
So I do believe there's plenty of opportunity here. Now, would this be a single family house or a condo?
single family.
Okay. Are you aware of the cost of a single family house versus a condo? Um, you know, for example, if most houses have a pool, so you need a pool service, which is probably could be $150 a month, give or take a little bit.
Mm.
A home watch service where when you're not here during the summer months, somebody comes in, flushes the toilets, make sure that no water's leaking and things of that nature, and that's probably another $100 to $150 a month.
Hmm.
But
I didn't even think about
sometimes
that.
yeah. So when you buy a condo, when you buy a condo, you just close the doors and leave, and the association, if your unit's leaking, your neighbor downstairs is going to let you know.
Right.
But but what's nice about some of the condos, you just shut the doors and leave, and your homeowner's insurance is covered by the HOA most of the time, versus buying insurance for a single family house. So there's a lot of things that have to come into play with budget and lifestyles, as you can see.
Hmm. I heard the biggest thing, just even off the cuff here on this, is your hurricane insurance and your flood insurance. Like, is that
hmm
is that pretty much a stand? Like, you have to have that right down there.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people pay cash on a 2 million property. And Hunter, you could chime in a little bit. There's a lot of people that are self-insured, especially people closer to the water. What are you seeing, Hunter?
especially closer to the water because first floors are normally not even insurable. So these people will pay all cash and self-insure their properties.
So I'm not the smartest guy in insurance. Like, what do you mean they self insurance?
Well, they have the financial wherewithal. They lost their house in a storm, they could replace it but themselves. Now,
Oh, so they
let's be
don't
honest.
have to have an insurance. They don't have insurance. They just pay cash for it when
Correct.
something wrong goes.
Yeah.
Do you have home
And
warranty companies like up here, like America's Preferred or one of those home warranty companies? Do they have that down there?
yeah, we have that down here for your appliances and your electrical components and so forth. Yes, we have that.
And do people do that?
Yeah.
Oh.
We've actually provide those as closing gifts to some people, but I just had a bad experience with one that I
Mhm.
sometimes question how good they are, because it's very frustrating to deal with it because I sold my house and I'm renting right now until we figure out our next steps.
Huh. Self insurance. I've never heard of that. I'm learning
Well, keep in
something
mind
new.
though too, I don't know your area, but however, the cost of land in Southwest Florida is what makes things so expensive. Our Rodeo Drive is really Fifth Avenue in Naples. Now, Greg, you've been down Fort Myers. I'm sure you're a little familiar with Fifth Avenue. So, but that is the most expensive price of land in Naples. And the further you get away from Fifth Avenue, the more economical things are. So the same house in Naples will be less than Bonita Springs. The same house will be less than Estero. And the same house will be even lesser in Fort Myers.
And what are
It's
some of
just the
these
cost of,
prices that you're saying?
for example, we're working with Pulte right now on looking at some construction. So the house that we're looking at in Naples is about 1.5-ish, 3,300 square feet with a pool, spa, tastefully done. The same house in the next city over, Bonita Springs or Estero, is starting price is $1 million.
Okay.
And then in Fort Myers, I believe in Fort Myers it might be another $150,000, $200,000 less.
So when you're pricing those homes, are you doing it by, is it on an average of price per square foot, or are you just looking at the market itself?
Oh, that's a great question. We like to use price per square foot, and we don't have to go outside the gates of the community or neighborhood that we're giving a quote on. The reason we don't very rarely go outside the gates is because you have the HOA has an amenity package that's unique to that community. So it's hard to go outside the gates and compare apples to apples when you have different amenities for each community. And most of the time we have enough data to figure that out. Keeping in mind, price per square foot will work for the single family houses and the condos at a very high level. And we also know when you have a community that has custom builders, there's the custom builders that we're aware of, they get a little bit favoritism because we know what custom builders are high end and add a lot more value to the property. And those come out in the numbers. We can isolate those by asking the right questions to the sellers.
So on the condos, as far as like, what's your average price or what's the average square footage? Because you're usually looking at a 2 and 2, right? 2 bedroom, 2 bath. So like anywhere from 12 to 1,400. Is that average?
That's average for certain communities, yeah. And so right now, Hunter, what do you think? For like just like a used Lighthouse Bay or somewhere in the Brooks, what would you say?
Our average square footage is probably anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000, I would think.
Okay. And the price per square foot?
Oh gosh. Community to community is different because all these gated communities, they each offer different amenity packages. So some will have, full blown gyms and restaurants, and there's even one in here that has its own gas station inside of it.
Wow.
That's true. Yeah.
So it depends on what they have, and that's how much these condos and stuff go for. The other big thing is golf down here. Sometimes it's bundled in to the price of the HOA, and sometimes it's not.
And they do all this to make it attractive, I guess, to separate themselves?
They make it attractive and also lifestyles. So, it gets back to the lifestyle what these people are trying to accomplish. And what we're also seeing now too today, Brock and Greg, is that these HOAs, because a lot of these communities were built in the early 2000s. They're spending a lot of money now on their infrastructure and updating everything so they can maintain and attract new buyers.
Speaking of that, not to switch gears here, but you and I were sharing a story the other day about some of the buyer challenges you're having down there on how high up. I mean, you lost one out, it was like over $2 million, and somebody paid an extraordinary amount over that. And like you said, like sometimes it's like when you're dealing with cash, like for us out here, we're like cash is king. If you have a cash offer, you have a better chance of winning. But down there, you're dealing cash versus cash. So, like,
yeah, it's
talk to us a little bit about that.
All right. Well, right now, I'm seeing it depends who you talk to. 70-80% of our business is cash. I don't care if it's 200,000 or $2+ million. There's a lot of money down here. I'm dealing with a gentleman out of Cleveland. He owns 4 car dealerships and has a lot of cash. We isolated a property in this community. It was asked, the starting point was 1.6. We got in a bidding war with somebody else, and we lost it by 13,000. It went for 2.1. That week, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, but we lost another one that week for 70,000. What was the parameters that one, Hunter, that Mish had?
He offered 75,000 over asking price and lost.
Wow.
And so, like, Erica's working on a deal right now where it's 575 asking. She came in at 597, and they like our price, but they want to charge us more for furniture now, which furniture is another whole issue that we deal with down here. So it's very complex, it seems like, and no disrespect to the newer agents, there's some good ones, but there's other agents that don't have an idea what they're doing and don't know how to create win-wins.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to crush you.
And really, it's just price is the only thing you're really negotiating because it's cash.
Yep. Yeah.
So on the role, so I wanted to ask you on the role play that you were doing with Brock, because you talked about like their budget, but how more important is it to find out like what their timing is, right? Because if they have a property that they need to sell, or maybe they don't, maybe they're just coming in if they want to do, they want to buy an investment property or, a winter home. How much significance is it? Because you have to basically time the market, right? Because you don't have a lot of inventory. So if you don't have that much inventory and you're on, like you said, I mean, you could be flooded with, with emails and calls, but say you only have 20 properties, possibly. So do you basically look at the amount of, the timing of them coming in and then making their decision versus the budget?
Well, that's a great question. One of the pre-qualifying questions, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, when do you want to buy? Well, some people want to buy right now if the right property pops up. Some people are looking to buy maybe until 6 months or a year, but they might be in town and want to go look at communities. So we're not interested in putting those people in our car unless they're really ready to pull the trigger today. Just because if the phone rings, and it's somebody in our pipeline and the right property possibly popped up, we got to run. And if they're not in town, we're doing virtual showings. So it's part of the Greg. It's part of the pre-qualification process to dig a little bit deeper. It just nobody wants to put anybody in the car if they're not going to be pulling the trigger. But also when you're dealing with somebody that like this guy that the car dealership guy that I'm talking to him almost every day. He's texting me properties. What about this one? This one's off the market. Can you go make some phone calls, see if they'll put it back on the market? This guy's very educated, knows what he's doing. So I don't mind spending the time with him because he is loyal to me and he knows I'm working hard for him.
I want to ask you this. Did you say last year you did 100 doors? Is that your team did?
83.
183.
183?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then what was your average price sale?
Hunter?
Our average price point's about 600,000.
Yeah, so let's talk about the luxury market. Do you want to talk? Because, Brock, that was a point that you wanted to focus on.
Yeah, so when you guys in the luxury market, do you guys have a price? Like for us, our luxury market is anywhere, mostly anything above 700,000, 800,000. We don't have as many $1 million properties down here. We do, just they're primarily on the lake. But for you guys, like, what do you see in the luxury market? What are you seeing? Like anything different because of the market? Obviously, prices continue to climb, but what has been like what you've been seeing in the luxury side of things, and how high do you think it's going to continue to go?
That's the magic question. I mean, and I'll give my blush on then. No, Hunter, give me your blush and I'll give you mine then. Go ahead.
Sure. What we used to be able to see is a lot of months supply of inventory on the luxury market. And right now down here in Southwest Florida, our luxury supply is, on par with our, regular demand of single family homes, your 3.2s. They're getting in, the luxuries are getting into multiple offer situations. And we just don't have the inventory. We've had more luxury market sales in the last probably 12 to 24 months than we have in the last 5 years.
And your inventory, I think you shared it with us this morning, Michael, on our coaching call. But what is your MLS normal, and what are you guys holding now in inventory for homes?
So typically, go ahead, Michael.
Go ahead.
Okay. Typically, our MLS during season, which for us is about Thanksgiving to Easter, we have anywhere between 15 to 20,000 properties active on the MLS at any given time. As of this morning, and since probably the past 2 years, our active inventory is about 2,500 homes on the entire MLS.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. And so what does that mean with I coach it, practice it, teach it, and tell agents like we are entering into the hardest real estate market for real estate agents because, when you have 15,000 homes, we'll say you have 15,000 employees, to some extent. And yes, we can narrow some down. Well, like some of the agents carry 30 listings, blah, blah, blah. But when you only have 2,500 homes for sale, not everybody can eat. So, are you guys seeing a decrease in realtors down there, or how's that been, putting food on the table?
Well, Hunter's president of the board of our local board, so he can tell you the numbers of what he sees increases each month. Go ahead. What's those numbers look like, Hunter?
Yeah, just the opposite. We're actually seeing more agents entering the market right now.
Because they think it's easy.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed is that there's more agents that are up north that are getting licensed in Florida because, it's a bang up market, right? And so
Yep.
they think there's a lot of food down there that they can go after. And so, especially in Michigan, I know a whole group that have recently been licensed for right around that area, but also for Sarasota. But here's another question I want to ask you. I mean, since you're dealing with a lot of transitory people coming in and either coming in seasonally, how are the people that are living there who are looking to, change out of one community or say they're up in, someplace not too far from, not so much close to the coastal area, but Pine Island or somewhere where they want to just move in, and they've been living in Florida for 15, 20 years, but now they want to move, or they want to move closer to the coast. So what are they dealing with? Because here, our sellers, obviously, number one, we have an inventory problem. But the people that live in the Carolinas, they've seen the market change over the last 10, 15 years. And they're like, we don't want to go apples to apples. Our home is old. It's 25 years old. And so are you dealing with people that live there that are saying, Michael, I mean, like, my goodness, like when is the ceiling going to end here on these prices so we can move?
It depends what local economist you speak to, but I'll give you my opinion. I think Hunter's on the same page as where, for example, um, natural laws supply and demand. We can't get our inventory back to a reasonable level for many years. Now, when new construction is happening in traditional resales, but the sellers can't sell unless they find something to buy. So that's another challenge that we have. But we're seeing a lot of the sellers right now that are selling. For example, I'm going to use my father as an example. He has a place in Fort Myers. Finally, we were able to talk to my dad. Say, Dad, I think it's time to put your property on the market because we didn't think that we'd see these numbers. He bought right before the boom, the bubble bursted, so he was a little bit upside down for many years. We're finding now he's going to make a decent amount of money. And plus, he's 84 years old, and we don't like him traveling the way he does. So we're seeing a lot of those people going back because I still have sisters up in Ohio where they go spend time with my sisters and their grandkids. And if he wants to come down, he'll stay, he can stay with me, or we find him a rental for a month or so. But what I'm getting at, every seller, just like a buyer, has their motivation. And the motivation for him is to net out, and also he knows he can't keep up this lifestyle for too long. And we see people that married couples that lose one of their spouses, and okay, well, Mrs. Spouse is gone. That they're going to go sell the house and go back, be up with the children where they have more family to help them through the golden years. But really to get to the question though too is that if somebody's buying today or building today, Greg, my heart of hearts, I do believe that we're going to see accelerated appreciation for the next 2 or 3 years. I don't feel that we're going to have a bubble bursting. I do believe that we're going to see a little bit of leveling off or a slight pullback in our pricing in the next few years. We are setting new norms in this area because the secret's out where we're just catching up to the Miamis and the coastal New Jerseys and New Yorks and Californias. I think we're a really good bargain for a long time here.
Right. So what do you think is driving the people into your area now? That is it just because there's just too many people in the South Florida area, in the Miami, it's overcrowded? Because many, many years ago, I've got a friend of mine that used to live in Deerfield Beach, and when they were living down there in the 70s, and they, over the years, over 20 years, they saw a huge change in that Atlantic coast side. Because once an area gets too, dense populated, then people are moving. So, I mean, what is the big draw now to be in the Fort Myers, Naples area?
Well, Hunter, you could chime in too. Is I really thought it was the quaintness and the quietness, but I think this next year will tell us if we're going to still have that or not. What do you think, Hunter?
We are getting busier and busier by the week. We have more people move into this area. But I mean, a lot of people come here for the beaches or golf courses. And it's just it's a lot more attractive and slower paced than the other coast is, meaning Miami and Fort Lauderdale, that whole area.
So I like going over to Miami or Lauderdale. It's about an hour and 45-minute, 2-hour ride, but I sure like coming back.
Yeah. I got to ask you a question back on, and maybe this is for Hunter on the luxury side, because when you're marketing now, and Hunter, you made the comment that the luxury market, you're selling more now than you did in the last 5 years on the luxury side. Is the expectations of sellers that you're still spending the same marketing dollars as you did any other time? Or are you able to kind of like ease back a little bit from all the crazy marketing? Or is there an opportunity there for, what type of marketing do you have to do for the luxury side now?
I think Michael would agree to this. We're spending probably less money on some marketing just because by the time we get the thing listed with professional photography and all that, it's almost going pendant before we even order flyers for the property.
Right.
So we're not even spending as much. It's kind of a weird predicament to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the last time I used Matterport, which is that 3D imaging, and
Yep.
we don't even use it anymore. And it's not trying to we're trying to reduce because at some point it's going to change, and we're going to probably have to spend double. So I feel like it all circles around. But like, I mean, some of these homes at 300,000, I could take pictures of my cell phone. My 3-year-old could post it online with just like some, not even put in remarks, and we already have 5 offers before in the coming soon status. And so our biggest challenge is applying our value proposition to them, still saying, hey, we still want our commission. Yeah, we know we're not spending as much money on that. But to me, I got to believe most of your negotiations that's where it's earned, because you're in such a demand type of market. Fair to say?
Well, to go back to our coaching call this morning, what we're trying to do, Brock, is ask the right questions and get in deeper relationships with these people, whether they're buying or selling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're capturing the people is, again, trying to ask the right questions and listening and reaching out to our sphere. And who do you know? This $2 million buyer out of Cleveland, I didn't know him. It was a past client that introduced me to him. Having the commonality of knowing he's from my backyard up there was definitely helpful, and he appreciates the Midwest work ethic that we have.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the relationship and asking the right questions.
So let me ask you: has the age demographics changed in the last 5 to 10 years? Because do you think that's the first question? And do you think you have like a captive audience as far as a certain age demographic? Because Fort Myers was always sort of like a more of a slower, slow town or that sort of thing. But it is much slower than, say, obviously on the Atlantic or even in Cape Coral, right? But because if you have a captive audience and that, there's only so much time, that there's going to be another community group that's going to move these people out of their homes that they just can't stay in anymore because they can't keep them up, right? Like you're talking about your dad, right? So if you have a large population that is like between 70 and 80, then have you like aligned yourself with, the next transition where people are going to, and then you get word from this community that these people are going to they're coming in to go into assisted living or something like that. So do you look at that as a market that you grab into to get homes on the market?
Yes and no. I mean, one of our agents on our team, he works with an assisted living place. So when somebody comes in for assisted living and wants me, interview to go through the process, we're the team that are in touch with that clientele to give them a quote on what we think the property is going to go for, and our products and services try to make it smooth and seamless as possible to sell the property and get them into assisted living. So there's quite a few of those facilities down here. So it's usually one-offs or the national ones that are down here. We have not been able to crack that relationship with yet. But to answer your question, though, too, is I do believe the demographics are getting younger, all the way from Naples to Fort Myers. If you came back, Greg, you see Cape Coral has changed dramatically, where I do believe that the working class is getting squeezed out. They're going out to Lehigh Acres and further east and north. And thank God we have a lot of universities down here off the Florida Gulf Coast, and what's the one over there by the Barbara B. Manhunter? That's FSW.
Yeah, FSW, Florida
FS,
Southwestern.
yeah, FSW, where they help us with a lot of the stores and restaurants to for the working class.
So maybe it is true that more people are staying throughout the year, almost the entire year, as they like 10, 15 years ago, you didn't have that. So now you have people that are more
Absolutely.
stationary, right?
I don't know the number, but you're absolutely right.
It's crazy to it's just a different world down there on how you I want to say different world because like when we talk and we do the coaching, I mean, a lot of the objections are the same objections. Sometimes we get up here, I don't want to sell yet because I can't find my house. It's hard to pay that much money for it, and you're always dealing with. I mean, real estate is real estate. I'm intrigued to see though. I'd like to hear the next couple of months what goes on in your real estate market for realtors, especially Hunter saying that people keep coming and coming and coming. Like to me, there's not jobs. And I used one of my quotes from Extreme Ownership of the book I read. It says, it's simple, but it's not easy. In this market, in this real estate, it is simple, but it's not easy. And you have to make a living, and you can't make a living by not selling anything. I mean, the average agent's not going to last 3 to 6 months because you got to put food on your plate. And I'll be intrigued to see. I mean, we're having the same thing, here, but our class size are going down a little bit because they're not. It's not easy. They're finding out the hard way that it's not easy. So I'm intrigued to see how that progresses over the next couple months.
Well, that's why you just want to be better prepared, and that's why we're talking to you and helping you help us out. We're just looking for the gaps and have different conversations or scripts that I hate the word scripts, but just asking the right questions.
Mm-hmm.
And paying attention to their needs at a higher level, because you know what, even when a web lead comes in or somebody from our sphere, we're only getting one opportunity sometimes, and if we lose that opportunity, it's frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
So we just got to be better on our game.
Yeah.
So for those that are listening now, and you're more than welcome to put out your information. So those that are listening that are want to come down or thinking about coming down to your area in Bonita Springs, Naples, and all of that. Share your contact information if you like.
Plug, Michael.
We'll give you a plug, absolutely.
Okay. Well, our main website is paradiseluxurygroup.com. That's paradiseluxurygroup.com. And our main number for our team is 239-498-7600. We use that number, and it rings to all of our agents at one time. So if you don't get me, that's fine. You could still ask for me, but you'll get Mish, Eric, Cooper, and there's on that line. But that's our main contact information. Did I forget anything, Hunter?
No, that's it.
Okay. And then and you can also go to our contact page there, and you send us email links directly. And that's the other thing, though, too, is I know that we're coming out of the Carolinas today, and I do believe you have a pretty good audience, but we do pay really good referral fees, and we do honor those with anybody across the country, 25%, whether it's a buyer or seller.
That's awesome. No, I really am. I'm excited that you guys came on board today and were our guest. You guys bring a lot of knowledge. I think that whole mailer thing. I took a bunch of notes on that because you gotta be creative on your marketing. You also got to find ways to be able to do it. That it's expensive, but putting that stuff together and sharing that is such a huge ingredient to your success for what you're doing. But also being a sponge. I mean, it's been great coaching you guys. And the sponge of your entire team and what you guys do and how you guys put it together. And of course, your main man Hunter over there. He's
oh yeah,
he keeps everybody in line.
Well, he does, and to keep in mind though too is that we got to change things up. What worked last year might not work today, so we're always we need to improve, Brock, and that's again part of the conversations we're having and looking at the gaps and Hunter's trying to put a fresh face on our marketing. We rather hit them in the inbox than the mailbox. And
Yep.
we even know when they open it up on the desktop versus the phone, so we see what people are doing and just try to dance accordingly.
Well, listen, man, we're going to wrap it up here. And Hunter, it was nice meeting you over the phone again, and you seem to be like you guys are like the dynamic duo going on over there with your team, and we really appreciate that.
I'm Batman.
Okay.
Thank you so much, though, Greg and Brock, for having us. I mean, it's been a treat, and we love talking to you and your audience. We truly appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys so much for being on here. We definitely appreciate you guys being here, and look forward to talking to you guys in the future here. And I'm looking forward to continuing working for you.
You got to send us a golf package. Some sort of like a weekend golf package, man.
A boondoggle. Okay, we'll see.
Listen, I can be down. Listen, I can be in Fort Myers in like 6.5 hours. Okay, you send me a golf package, and I'll make it happen. Let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
We'll see what we can do for you.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Right.
We
Thanks,
appreciate
guys.
you. Awesome.
Bye
Take
now.
care. All right.
Bye.
Yeah, that was great. It's really nice to hear, what goes on in a different market, and what sort of takeaways did you get from all that?
Well, I mean, the way that they market and being able to do those, I love that script because you know me, I'm a script guy, and how they do that. And I think that's such a huge piece to be able to have that conversation when you're sitting there because, yeah, you're absolutely right. Your buyer could come from one of your neighbors and they're putting it out there. So I thought that was really good. And then I was just also still impressed at how many agents are still joining. I mean, I think because everybody sees that the market is great. Oh my gosh, selling homes. But when they dive deeper, it'll be amazing to me. So it just, that kind of rose my eyebrows there. How about you?
Well, I think what was interesting is that, that area, it is a tight area from Bonita Springs, Fort Myers Beach, and I don't know if they do into Sanibel and all that, but to have, what did he say, 15,000 agents in just that little, in that spot, that is insane. It's like every time you go to the grocery store or wherever you're running into, you're running into an
Somebody's
agent.
Going to say, I have an agent.
I got like 3.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because you had picked up on some data that you talked about, I think it was about a week ago, about percentage of agents who are just going to leave the market.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the NAR states, that's why I'm like so surprised that and that's why I love Michael and his team because they've been like a sponge. Like they want to grow. They want to be able to learn. And we've been going through questions after questions to ask people because you're going to have to be very good to survive in this market because there's not homes. I mean, you only have so many homes to sell. I mean, I did a search for my clients to be able to look between 300 and 350. I gave them 5 different zip codes in the Lake Norman area. There's only 1 home for sale. 1. I mean, that means there's only 1 real estate agent, 2 of them, 1 to list and 1 to buy. That's it. But I mean, we have 15,000 agents in the Charlotte area. Charlotte's much bigger. But I mean, that to me is going to be very scary to see what's going to take place because there's going to be a lot of agents without jobs and they're going to be going W-2 soon. And so the skill set, they have to be, you can't go to Walmart, can't go to Amazon, you can't buy skills. You have to perfect them. You have to work on them every single day and you have to practice them.
And I think that's one of the things that you do in your real estate career and where you're at now is really helping a lot of other agents because Michael is part of that coaching platform that you're his coach, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I coached them this morning and we role play, we go through that, can't find a house I want to buy, but I'm not too sure, blah, 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 all these different types of things. And, you're on the phones all the time. You hear the objections and sometimes because we practice objections all the time, it's like, this one's easy. Okay, hold on a second. Let me just tell you how we're going to overcome that. And it becomes an instrument. It becomes in your toolbox, just like a carpenter. Hey, let me pull out the T-square. Let me pull out the jigsaw. Let me pull out this because we need different tools at different points of the work that we're doing at different, job site that you have. So you can't always use the saber saw on a small cut. You got to be able to change it.
So are you telling me you just can't pull out your 4-leaf clover and everything is going to work out? You're going to get your listing? So, right?
My little ones, though, they might like to pull out the 4-leaf clover, especially with St. Patty's Day right around the corner there.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Isaac to come home with all of his St. Patrick stuff and one of the hats and and all the
Yeah.
green and the Blarney and everything, and it's going to be fun. So, well, this has been awesome. We really appreciate all the time here. For everyone been listening to the podcast, Raised on Real Estate, we're all over the place, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Play, all over the place. Brock, it's great to have you back in again. Any last words before we sail out?
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Enjoy it. Stay safe out there.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody, and we'll be back soon. So we'll take you all on another trip with us. We appreciate you being here. For Brock Zivan, this is Greg Angelo, Raised on Real Estate. This has been a Planet One radio production.